Hello, and welcome to Greek the Week. I'm Mona Duncan, and today we're going to be looking at ourselves as individuals and how important we are. And let me bring up the screen here and looking at and share and put it all the way up where it takes off of the sides. Okay, it's all about relating. Well, what does it mean to relate? The more words you can put into what it is you're looking at, the more that concept expands. So relating is an adjective, and it means connecting, linking, involving, concerning. But it's also a noun, which means, people, places, and things. And in relating with that noun, it's in telling, recitation, unfolding, recounting, describing. And notice that and then also it's an adjective, it's a noun, but relating is also a verb, and it means telling, which goes along with the noun, but also with narrating, associating, relaying, sharing, reporting. But what I want you to notice about all of these is every one of them ends with an ing, because that ing brings everything to right here, right now, right here in this time and in this presence. It brings you into, instead of looking way off and trying to explain things, it's coming right here where it is more powerful, where it can be worked with and looked at. And so it is all about relating. Well, let's go a little bit more with words. I love words, 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 words. Every word has power. It has power with how we use it. It has power with how we abuse it. So all means completely, entirely, wholly, totally, altogether, everything. It also means each, everyone, each and everyone. All leaves nothing out. And so here is a little poem that goes with this particular topic. Truth is neutral, impartial to all. Consequences dispassionately fall. Listening, heeding, embracing, succeeding. A still small voice gently leading. Individual power to answer the call. We all have a mind with which to think and a wisdom heart with which to make decisions and determinations. And to listen to that inside speaking that's talking with us about the thing that is good for the whole. So remember the song People by Barbara Streisand? People who need people are the luckiest people of all. The luckiest people in the world is even another portion in that song. And it's beautiful. It really talks that people who need people are lucky. We're lucky that we need people. And as we can stop and realize, it is a blessing to be around people and to be able to engage with them. I personally believe that from the cradle to the grave, and I misspelled the word grave, from the cradle to the grave, it is a universal need that each one of us have, not only to love, but to be loved. We need to be touched. We need that communication. We need to see each other. All venues, everybody and all venues. We've already looked at how expansive all is. So it's in the home, it's in the life that we live from infancy to whatever age, in the schools, in workforces, in the salesmanship, in building, whether that is erecting small buildings or mammoth skyscrapers, or whether that building is road and bridge and reconstruction. The avenues include community and government and law enforcement and conservation. I mean, it includes everything in our whole entire universe, all the animals, all the people, all the everything. It also includes the mystery of quantum physics and the space that looks like it's empty, but it's not empty. There's something in there. There's something that is part of the mystery. and that everything requires people, everything. I mean, our food, our clothing, our cars, our driving on, everything requires people. Nothing, except for seeds that are dropped by the wind, blown by the wind, or dropped by birds and animals that drop the seeds that begin to grow. Otherwise, everything requires people. The mowing down, well, the sheep will help to mow, but other than that, we need something mechanical to take care of our universe. And everything is about people. The human misery results in the inability to relate well with people. And sometimes, we can get really mad and really angry and begin to isolate ourselves. And we're really doing ourselves a disservice and doing harm. And then the inability to relate with people creates the destruction of people. It is that inability to relate with others, that brings out the anger and the hurt. And it doesn't matter who you kill, you just want to kill somebody. Unfortunately, seems to be the of looking back on history, and even just recently, the 22 that was killed, or the 22 that was shot at. Anyway, the sadness, the sadness, the sadness. So here's a quote from Robert Sirocco that's so powerful. The person, and we're talking about all people, okay? The person is simultaneously individual and social. We're both and. We're our own unique self, but we have that need, not a want, not an offense. We have that need to be social. So the person is simultaneously individual and social, acting on his or her own, but never without consequences for the lives of others. That is why radical individualism and radical collectivism are both contrary to our true nature. It's going against who we are. It's going against who we are created, who we are born to be. So think, feel, and will. I have a couple of little stories to go along with this. The need for an audience. Working with the federal prisoners, there was a couple that came in, not a couple as in, well, it was a father and a son. They had been cohorts in the in their thievery. Okay, they had been, and they were each indicted, that they were sent to different prisons in different states, and then they were sent to the rehabilitation center that would, whenever they got to a certain point, they could go to a halfway house that has no even an inkling of being halfway. It's just a major one little step into the next of learning to get back out into society with people. But anyway, he was very entertaining. He was always coming, the son was. And the father was sent there too. They were both together. And the dad was just so delighted to have to be with his son and to sit with him and have dinner with him and talk with him and things like that. But the son, I mean, it wasn't a big deal to him. He was too busy entertaining people. He was too busy being the town clown and the one that would jab other people and so forth. And so he would always come, oh, I don't need people. I don't need people. And I said, yes, young man, yes, you do. If nothing else, you need them for an audience. Whether they are for you or whether they are against you, you need them for an audience. So, and whether he ever thought about that again or not, or considered it, that there are times that we do need people, whether we believe it or not. And so here, Melinda and Wendell. Now, I want you to know that I am not talking about Wendell Walker, that most of you know, or a lot of you know, that will be watching this later. Melinda, I'm talking about Melinda, my daughter, when she was 4 years old. and Wendell, my sister's son, who was 4 years old. There was about 3 months difference in their ages. And when my sister and her husband was gone for the weekend or for 4 or 5 days, and Wendell was going to be spending time with us. And it's day one, and it's early afternoon, and they are outside, and I am outside working in the yard and planting some plants and so forth. And they have a tricycle and a Hot Wheels, and they are playing together, and having a lot of fun there in our driveway. And I'm there in the yard to oversee. And it doesn't take too long until there's a little scuffle over there. They're fussing with one another over something. And I decided, no, I'm not going over and correct it, because we've got a whole 5 or 6 days left that if I set that precedent, it's always going to be. So I thought, no, I'm going to let them talk it out, let them decide it out, what their little issue is. But it wasn't long until Melinda came over to where I was, and she began to tattle. And so I listened to her, and then I looked at her and I said, now, Melinda, you and Wendell know how to play together. You and Wendell love each other, and you know how to share. Now, I think the two of you need to settle this. So she walked back over there to him, and he was looking at her, watching her the whole time. Walked back over, and she repeated to him verbatim. He said, what'd she say? And she repeated verbatim. Well, she said that you and I love each other, and that we know how to play together, and we know how to share. And they stood there for just a short time, but just looking at each other. And then Melinda said, which means I get the Hot Wheels and you get the tricycle. Well, codependency comes whenever someone depends on outside sources to solve the problem. And so I was kind of thinking, now that, everyone is going to eventually come up with something that will help to solve the problem. And she said, which means it's time to switch out who is driving what. I get the Hot Wheels, you get the tricycle. And so I was thinking over there, I had the thought that I would go over and begin to help them, stepping in not to fix anything, but to commend. I had several thoughts. I thought, well, I could go in and get an alarm clock, a wind up one, and they could switch off every 30 minutes, whatever they were playing with or doing. But then I decided again, no. I don't want to be the arbitrator as to giving all the instructions. We need to learn how to work with others, how to work with them, how to get along together, because we all belong. So I went over there not to fix, but to commend as to how pleased I was that they were taking the advantage and working with each other. So it's always going about balance. How do we begin to balance things out? And so I do a lot of teaching on a three level. And in the levels of a stool that has 3 legs, supposedly would hold more weight or is more stable than a 4-legged stool or chair. But in looking at that it's doing, because we are the stool, okay? We are the stool. And it is the doing, whatever it is we're doing, whatever it is we're having. And by having, I mean, what is it that we possess? What is it that we're wanting? What is it we're bringing into us? And then not only what, but who we are being, And that wholeness consists of our physicality, of our mentality, of our emotionality, of our intellectual ability, of our social abilities, of our spiritual abilities, of our financial abilities, probably some more words we could put into that. That is riding, that is setting, that is coming down heavy on that surface of who we are. And so what are we doing about it? How are we taking and receiving, giving and receiving? And then how are we being? And that all balance comes up with equilibrium, harmony, steadiness, poise, being just and fair, and impartial, meaning that it is about me, but it's not all about me. It's about all of us, and being unprejudiced. And so, freedom is an essential element. And in the book, Man's Search for Meaning, Dr. Viktor Frankl suggested that the US of A incorporates a statue on the east side of our country, of the USA, a statue of responsibility that would equalize or that would offset the statue of freedom. Because freedom, we can only be free when we are responsible for our actions, for our intentions, for the harm we get, and also for the good we do, to be responsible for those. And the degeneration of values, the degeneration of health, the degeneration of anything that degenerates is largely due in part to the mass amount of freedom that we think we have. Because no matter how free we may try to be, there are rules and guidelines that need to be looked at for the good of the whole. Well, I hope this has given you some thoughts to think about. And thank you for being here, and many blessings to all.